alive. I'm just trying to make you feel something.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Welcome back to season 2 of the Sleepover podcast. It's an audio experience, but for season 2, we are going to add a visual element for the Patronis. Shouts out to the Patronis, all the supporters. Love you so much. If you're tuning in for the first time, you know, like I always say, this is these might be topics that might not be for everybody, but they are for somebody. So it's where we take a deeper dive into, you know, just different things that are going on in the world, from music to entertainment to storytelling. And it's just a deeper way for me to connect and kind of let you guys know what's on my mind. Excuse me. I feel like, man, it's been a crazy year. It's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows. I've dealt with some close deaths in the family. I've dealt with some betrayal. You know, it's just been a roller coaster, but I also got to see you guys in person. We had 2 different meetup events, and I also went to go see the concerts in Dallas, which was really dope. So much love to everybody that came out to the coffee shop in Chicago, came out to Fat Milk, and of course the Sleepover Live in LA, man. Shouts out to you guys for coming out and supporting. We sold a lot of tickets. We had the motto was pay what you want to pay, and you guys over supported your boy. It was enough to take care of the venue, so that was love. And yeah, man, it was just a great time seeing everybody in person. It was a bit overwhelming, I can't lie. I've explained this before. It's kind of like being on a little bit of a tape delay. You have so many people watching you, so many eyeballs, and like obviously, like I never want to disappoint. I want to see everybody and talk to as many people as I can. But you know, it took me a couple weeks to kind of process what had happened and just like really, really take it in. And super grateful for that experience, man. It was a really good time. Also, what was I gonna say? I don't have any notes here, so I'm just like kind of freestyle. So just bear with me. But yeah, no, just overall, it was a great experience, and I'm happy to kind of get back to reconnecting with everybody on a level. I know a lot of people really enjoy the podcast. I had somebody that I met in person, and she was so lovely. It was I met her at a paint supply store here in LA. And she came up and she said hello, and she was so joyous and so bubbly. And then one of the things she said to me, she got really serious, and she was like, you have to bring back the podcast. She was like, your voice is important, and you have to talk about the things that come into your mind. And so I told her that I was preparing to do so. I just didn't know when. I didn't know at what scale. I have a lot of ideas. Obviously, I want to have a lot more one-on-one conversations like this, but I would also love to bring special guest on to have conversations, just things that are just past the surface level. You know what I mean? Just like I think the most interesting thing in the world is people. I think there's a lot of stupid people, but I think that there's a lot of gems of people. And I love to hear people's perspective on many things, whether it's music or, you know, culture, food. I mean, it could be anything, anything that can drive passion. Those are the kind of things that I'm interested in talking to people about, you know, and sharing those conversations with you. So I think that'll be fun. Let's see, man. Where do we even begin? I have a main thing I want to talk about today, but I'm just trying to remember any other topics. I just saw today that a lot of people are getting their country, their account country of origin doxxed on X, which is just become just a really, really just racist platform. I mean, I think most of us are here for nostalgia. I think for ARMY in particular, it's a place where we connect whenever BTS is dropping something. Like I still remember when Map of the Soul 7 dropped, in the way that my account just like went from 2,000 followers to like 8,000 followers. And it was just all new people excited about the music about to drop and being so kind and so loving towards me. So I have so many good memories on Twitter, not X, but on Twitter. And also, sports. I'm a big sports fan. There's been so many times where, the NBA finals or the Super Bowl, and you're just watching a real live event happen in real time, and you're just getting in the chat with strangers and going back and forth, whether it's just being excited or debating, with people who are fans of a rival team to the Lakers or the Dodgers, but it's just become a terrible place. It starts at the top, starts with the ownership. Homeboy that bought it, he had ideas of what he wanted to do with the platform. And, there's been a lot of reports that 75 to 80% of the blue check accounts that are supposed to be verified users were bots. And, it is an interesting subject all in itself. It should make you think twice before even arguing with an account, because a lot of times, like, these accounts are actually connected to LLMs, and they're able to, generate conversation. So you're basically arguing with ChatGPT. These are automated responses and tweets, and it's just, it's just wild. I think the worst thing that ever happened to Twitter outside of the person that bought it was, monetizing tweets, because it's just turned into a place where people just try to enrage people to get a response, to elicit a response. And so I want to talk about that just a little bit more before I get into the main thing, because one of the things that's interesting about it is, I also understand why this is happening from the other side. Like, I don't agree with it one bit, but if you can, monetize being divisive, and you're getting support from high level, GOP members. They showed Trump's kids follow some of these accounts, and it's just pretty wild. But these accounts are, the country of origin has been revealed on these accounts. I don't know if this was an intentional update, which makes me even wonder even more why the person who bought Twitter and turned it into X, why he would allow that, being how vocal he's been about, supporting some of these things. But it was just pretty wild to see, all these very, very, very far alt-right racist rage baiting accounts. And you see the country of origin is like Nigeria, South Africa, India, Malaysia, and other developing countries. And so what's happening is, you have someone who is capitalizing off of the divisiveness that we already have in our country due to race and politics. And from their end, what they're getting from it is, having a verified account, they're able to monetize these tweets now. So if they tweet something super racist and it's getting picked up and it gets traction from all these people, and they're doing this multiple times a month from multiple tweets. And even if you got to realize, like, it might not seem like much money to someone here in America, but if you're in a developing country and you get an engagement check from Twitter for spreading hate and divisiveness in $200, that might be a real game changer for somebody that is in India or in Nigeria somewhere where 200 US dollars. I don't know if they pay out I don't know how the payouts work. So I'm assuming that there's a rate, and if they're getting a specific rate because these tweets are based in the US, it's pretending to be US accounts. So I'm assuming that they're getting paid, a couple $100, maybe to even a couple $1,000. Who knows? Depends on how big these tweets get. But these people from developing countries, it's almost like if you don't feel like you have any other options, and this is so easy for you to do, I see how this is happening. And so I don't completely, blame them, but I do think that monetizing X and monetizing tweets and monetizing hate speech, is the worst thing that ever happened to the platform, which is why I'm not as active as I once was on there. I try to still pop in whenever, I get the vibe too. But, we built a really dope community over on Patreon, and I wish more people would come over and engage. Even like when I say more people, I mean, even at the free level, there's multiple chat rooms that I can adjust based on suggestion, and all these kind of conversations that we would normally have on Twitter, we can have over there. in a much more safe and secure place where you don't have to deal with racism, bigotry, and just overall hate and all the other things, and even just all the porn and just everything that pops up on Twitter. Like, we need spaces on the internet where we can talk about music and the different things that we all have come together to enjoy as a community, and that's what we do there. So if you ever want to pop in, just go join patreon.com/sleepds. Go make a free account. You can even get a free trial, 7 days, so you can go see some of the unlocked content, some of the locked off content, and see the quality level of what we're doing there. So we would love to have you. Don't get into any arguments online with any of these accounts that are actually, Russian bot accounts and things like that, man. It's just it's not worth your time. It's not worth your energy. It's not worth the headspace. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. But what's brought me back to the sleepover is something much more interesting and positive, and it has to do with our guys, and it has to do with the overall, just has to do with the Western music industry. Sorry, it's like motorcycles going crazy outside. Jeez, this is like rush hour time. So yeah, I am, I'm all back, and I had some end of the year meetings. Just got back from Japan. Just got done celebrating my birthday. Shouts out to everybody that was on that 48-hour stream. If you popped in at any point to hang out with us, that was wild. It actually sparked some other ideas though, so we're gonna have some more fun with that in the near future. But I had some meetings yesterday about some projects that are coming up, and I get like the tone of the meeting. In regards to me potentially working on these projects, it had a lot more to do with like them trying to just gauge my interest level in music overall, which I thought was weird, in a way, because I think that the way it was presented was like, oh, Sleep has his own thing going on, and so he's good. He doesn't want to, work on this and work on that. And couldn't be further from the truth. There were some really major projects that they told me, what the theme was, and basically what it is that they want to do. And I'm excited to potentially work on some of these things. And I am going to, but one of the conversations that I had was just like, what's like, from your perspective, what's happening? Like, what's going on in the industry right now? What are we doing? Like, what's the tone, and, a couple years ago, we had got to a point where they weren't able to create new stars. That's what they were having trouble with. And since then, we've seen a couple of different artists like really pop on the pop level. That's what they're talking about when they say stars. They really care about, the pop and being the pop artists that they can really put the machine behind, because the streams of being able to monetize a huge pop artist is just endless. And so since then, we've kind of like really seen the rise of like Sabrina Carpenter. Olivia Rodrigo popped out for a minute. I'm not sure what's going on with her career too much. Haven't followed, but they were able to create some stars. I know Ice Spice had like a little bit of a run. Seems like it's kind of died down a little bit. Actually, she was in Tokyo when I was just there doing stuff for like Halloween and things like that. So I'm not saying that her career died down. I'm just saying like they've created new people that we know the names of now. And so, one of the things that he mentioned was like, in these meetings, they keep on talking about, talking about wanting to create superfans or how to like capitalize off superfans. And one of the things he was talking about with me was like, oh, you understand that because, you work in K-pop. And so I had to correct him a bit just based on like what I know of the connection between ARMY and BTS to be. I'm not familiar with the other fandoms in K-pop, intimately. I just know that it exists. I know fandom. I've seen the fan wars online. I see how passionate people get, and these things also exist in the Western music scene when it comes to certain artists. We've seen, Beehive and Nicki Minaj's fans and Swifties and all these different things. And overall, they very supportive. I see a lot of them copying a lot of the things that I've come to see in the K-pop space in the last 7-8 years since I've been working. Well, I've been working in K-pop longer than that, but since I've been working with BTS and kind of like being ARMY and having more involvement on a fan level, and just kind of seeing like the things like, I see them copying like, the streaming and just the different plans, to try to get your artist to number one. And so, I think that there's levels to that can be healthy. I think there's levels to that's toxic, of course. But what I wanted to say is, people want to create this, but they don't have a legit understanding of what that entails. And there's so many things that I'm hearing the industry trying to figure out that BTS and Bang and Co seems to have figured out a decade ago. And it's just so crazy to me, like how far ahead they are when it comes to that. And I would even say, from personal experience, like seeing with my own eyes is what I mean when I say personal experience. I saw Taylor Swift after a show. I want to say this is like 2010, 2011. It didn't look like an arranged like meet and greet where someone has to pay and they have to go do this thing with this whole bundle and package. I mean, I saw her like with like maybe like, I say like 500 to 600 fans after a show, talking to all of them, like really, really just connecting with their fans. And I don't know her personally. I know one of her background singers is I won't say a friend, but someone that I know, super sweet girl. And she said the same thing about Taylor. She was like, she does this after every show, And I don't know, she's gotten so big. I don't know if this still happens now, but I know in the early stages of her career, after every show, she's spending that time with the fans, really doing that. And so it's just interesting that the Western music industry is getting hype about like, oh my gosh, super fans. But I don't know if they're getting hype about a lot of the things that would make that happen. And I have some ideas I know what's missing, and I'll get to that a little bit later in this, but I wanted to kind of talk about what really, really, really shook them to the core. And it kind of like all started back with like the pandemic. That was the first time where it was like, nobody really knew what was going on. Nobody really knew what was going to happen. Man, everybody was stuck, everything was getting pushed back. There was projects I was working on at the time that just got completely halted. I had been working on some stuff for Rosalia. I had been working on some stuff with Adele, and all these things just got completely shut down. Sorry, 1 second. So like 2020, The Weeknd, for example, he had to delay his After Hours tour from 2020 to 2021. And eventually, because you remember they lied to us, they said lockdown was going to be for 3 weeks. And then eventually I think he ended up moving it to 2022, which was like, for him, that had to be a huge blow given how successful that album was. The album was out of here. And even Taylor, she had her tour that was scheduled. And she had to cancel all her live appearances as well due to the pandemic. And then I think there was someone else that was really major that was set to tour. I think it might have been Kanye. He couldn't do his thing anymore either. So the traditional pop playbook was just cooked. You have your album release, you have your big media splash where you're everywhere, then you have your world tour, and then suddenly you go into lockdown and now you stuck. You know what I mean? And so with no tour dollars, with no so now all these artists who are used to just kind of like running through the pop playbook, which is, you release an album, you have a big media splash, you do your world tour. Now you have no tour revenue and all you have is social media. And if you haven't been using social media and haven't been engaging with your fans, how do you transition that? And so this was an industry-wide problem. So if this is happening to the biggest artists at the top, it's happening, through and through. And so one of the coolest things for BTS is like, how they were able to, I don't even say adapt because they already had this relationship there. But one of the biggest things for them is they had did the big splash media. They had did carpool karaoke and Fallon, and they did all these different things in preparation for the album to come out in February, and then we went into lockdown in March. So they kind of got best of both worlds in that case because they were able to do that, but they weren't able to tour just like everybody else. They're stuck in the house. And so while all these different artists are just in a space of just being stuck, BTS was able to explore a curated openness, direct to fan engagement, continuing to build on their community building. I think at one point, I saw their, somebody might correct me on this, but I think I saw their Twitter go from maybe 20 something million to like 40 million in just like a matter of like in the year 2020 or something crazy. Like it like damn near doubled or something like that. And so to kind of like understand like how big of a milestone achievement this was for BTS, we got to first like understand what went wrong for so many Western artists. You know what I'm saying? Like these artists were accustomed to just traditional promotional cycles, which is heavily relying on in-person events, TV appearances, club tours, festival sets, meet and greets, and especially the world tour aspect is like the centerpiece of an album era. And then when COVID hit, all these plans just basically evaporated overnight. So The Weeknd, he had, take The Weeknd for example, he had his single Blinding Lights. It was one of the biggest hits of 2020, even arguably the biggest of the year globally. And his album After Hours dropped in March 2020 to critical and commercial acclaim. Normally this would be followed by a huge tour feeding the hype. Instead, The Weeknd was forced to postpone the entire tour originally set for June 2020 by a full year. And I think to really understand what BTS was able to achieve in the pandemic, you got to also just look at how many Western artists just got the whole thing so wrong. They had been reliant on a model that had existed for so long. It's just like you have your club tours, your festival sets, you have your meet and greet, and then the centerpiece of all this is your world tour, right? And once a global pandemic hits and nobody can tour, which is the lifeblood for like artist revenue, if you guys don't know that, is their tour money. All those plans just basically just disappeared overnight. And so, I mean, you could take like The Weeknd. I think Blinding Lights was like the biggest song of 2020. The song was everywhere leading up to the album release, leading up to everything going on. And it was expected for him to just have like this massive year. And I think that, with the tour being postponed 2 years, I think he did the Super Bowl the following year. I don't know if it was 2021 or 2022 when he did the Super Bowl, but he was able to do the Super Bowl. And I think there was like some like augmented reality TikTok concert thing that he did during that time. And so to summarize, it just felt like, the Western pop industry kind of just had an approach that was like, let the music speak for itself and just wait until touring can resume. And artists who just really thrived on just like, mystique and, traditional branding and marketing cycles really struggled during the pandemic. And then you look at like BTS and their bond with ARMY, and it's a relationship between artist and fan that for one, I haven't really ever seen before, but I've also admittedly, in the internet era, never been involved with fans. Like, I mean, I can't, I don't know if this was, my high school days or in my college days and I was on the internet and there was a Rockefeller Jay-Z online set of people, like I definitely would have been a part of that. So this is my first time like actually just like, seeing it in motion. And what I can speak on from that is that just BTS was just built differently, like way before anybody ever was using the word social distancing. And, I felt like Big Hit, hype, whatever you want to call it, invested in breaking the wall between artists and audience, but in a more curated and intentional way. And when I say in a curated and intentional way, it's like, the what they want to give is well thought about, and it's the intention behind it as well. It's not like, hey, I want to give you something just when I want to sell you something. Like, I've tapped into some of the live streams and like just seeing like, that, like I think RM spoke on it that, you know, being able to go live, it feels like an escape for him, and just knowing that somebody's going to be there. And me being someone that has started going live more and doing things like that, like I can totally relate. You know, there might be a time where I can't sleep, it's 3 a.m. or something like that, and I know I could just turn on a camera and get online and have somebody to talk to, or I know I can put out, you know, a little small video, and I know that at least, you know, 10 people are going to see it and appreciate it and enjoy it. So I have a quote somewhere in here. Let me see. It says a Yale sociologist studying K-pop noted that BTS had been envisioned as a collective to heal the alienation that ails us all in the digital age, while the driving commitment being their relationship to the fan group. During the pandemic, this commitment was put to the test and it succeeded spectacularly. Basically, like, from what I've seen since I've been involved, is that the group cultivated a relationship with ARMY that goes way beyond when it's time to just sell you something, when it's time to just drop an album. They're constantly, you know, checking in, giving bits of their lives, giving bits of themselves to the fans. And it seems like they were built on these principles. You know, watching like them on stage, or even watching them when they go on live, and they're you know, sharing their emotions with the fans regularly, but on their own terms and on their own platforms, which I think is also important. I don't know if they own Weverse or the one that they used to use when they used to go live 6-7 years ago. I can't think of the name of it right now, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And then like Run BTS and In the Soup, and, you know, the little video diaries, the studio diaries, and how they've been open about discussing their struggles. Like, these kind of things build like a loyalty with fans that I just don't understand why the Western music business is still so predicated on mystique. I don't disagree with it when you are Beyonce or you are, you know, the top of the top, but I think newer artists, it's a different world. And, you know, if you're trying to break through all the noise that exists, there's got to be like a bit more transparency. It could be curated transparency, but instead what I'm hearing is that, you know, artists are really struggling, and labels are telling artists like, you know, go make TikToks. And you have artists who are not that type of social person in general, looking really, really uncomfortable and looking ridiculous trying to make a TikTok, because that's the whole thing going on. And really, all they would really need to do is turn on the camera and have a conversation with the fans. You don't have to get on there and do a silly dance if you're not a dancer, or do a skit if you're not, you know, humorous or comfortable acting on camera. It's just connect with the people who support you already. It doesn't really seem like that hard when I think about it. You know, it's just kind of crazy that it doesn't happen as it should. And that goes back to what I was just saying about BTS. It's like they've never been afraid to be vulnerable in front of their fans. And like I guess part of me from like coming from a hip hop background, I understand like maybe like a rapper wanting to be more macho or more street, because like whatever the case may be, even though I still think that whole concept is dated. But you have pop stars that are not, you know, connecting with their fans in the way that, you know, BTS does. I mean, I've seen these guys cry on stage, you know, when they're giving their inmates, when they're talking on stage. And so just beyond just being open, BTS has a culture of direct communication with ARMY that's just unrivaled. You know, even after performing a huge concert or TV appearance, it's routine for them to go hop online. How hard is that? How hard is that for, and I don't know what Sabrina Carpenter does. I'm not even using her as an example here. I'm just using her because she's one of the newest pop stars and I enjoy some of her songs. But like, she might already do this, so I don't come in my comments talking stupid. But I'm just saying, like, what would prevent, you know, this artist from hopping off of stage and hopping on and talking to their fans about what they just experienced? I mean, that's super dope. Like, that's a level of access that, you know, I think it should feel comfortable. I think it should feel comfortable for artists. And I'm very, very pro artists having space. You know, I think artists should not have to be on all the time. I think artists should be able to turn off and turn on at their own whenever they decide to turn on, because I think that's where the magic comes from. But I don't think that after you hop off stage, after you've won an award, or after you just perform, and hopping on live stream to talk to all the people that support you that weren't able to be there, I don't think that's an overreach at all. I think that that should be like a regular part of the job. And I think that that is like, that really shows that the relationship between ARMY and BTS is I don't know, it goes both ways. It's not strictly parasocial, you know, like these guys are, and I say parasocial in using it in the true term of what the definition means, because I don't think it's a bad thing the way that it's been just, I see it used nowadays since people discovered this word 6 months ago. But I think it's a true two-way relationship. I think that they get excited about something and their mentality is like, oh man, let me go jump online and go talk to ARMY and talk to them about how I feel about this or whatever the case may be. It just always comes across as authentic and genuine. And for the life of me, I can't understand, like, if the Western industry is so hell bent on thinking that super fans is what's going to save the business, then why not encourage artists to be more, you know, just the concept of like intimacy at scale, you know what I mean? Like, you know, fan calls or more, you know, just ways to connect with the artist. And like I said, something as simple as, I think every show Jin did during his tour after he got off stage, like he went live, like I think after every show. It's not a lot of work when you think about it. It's just, you have to want to do that. And if I think artists have to get to a point nowadays where they have the mentality that you're in this together with your fans. You're in this with your community. It's no longer you're up here and you just like, everybody should just praise you because you're on a stage or because you can sing and because you can dance. The community that supports you, you guys are in this together. And the sooner that, you know, artists understand that, then they will be able to organically build super fans and have fans, because now the fans are going to feel like they're in it together. If you treat every fan like they're disposable, then guess what? The fans are going to treat the artists like they're disposable too. They're going to be a fan of you, and then they're going to be a fan of this. And I'm not saying that you can't be fans of multiple things. Like, I love music. I listen to so much different music, but that doesn't mean I'm a fan of every person that I listen to, right? And so I think if the West wants to create super fans, as they said in this meeting, then you got to create super artists that want to connect with their fans on a two-way level, you know? So, what else was I gonna say here? I got some more notes here. It says this wasn't a new pandemic strategy. It's been in their DNA, but its importance was magnified when everyone felt isolated. As one Harvard Business School case study noted, they're authentic and genuine. I just said that. They would directly communicate with the fan base. The effective use of social media was how they created an ecosystem. Instead of one-way communication where an artist posts and the fans consume, BTS fostered conversation. On Weverse and V Live, that's what I couldn't think of, their own community app, members would post personal messages, photos, or even just ask silly questions, and fans could comment and occasionally get replies. In 2020, one fan even got a response from says one of BTS's vocalists, on Weverse by posting comforting words, a small interaction that can mean the world when physical meetings are impossible. This accessibility made ARMY feel like active participants in BTS journey, not just passive supporters. Like I said, intimacy at scale. So, like I was saying earlier, just concerts in general are the lifeblood of the music industry, not just for the money, but for the emotional connection of just like shared live music. And if anybody missed touring in 2020, it was BTS. Like, as we all know, we're still all sad about, and I've still never seen My Time perform live. We missed out on the Map of the Soul 7 tour across the U.S. That would have been astronomical, as we knew. But, you know, watching them navigate the situation, and I think it was for Festus. So they had the Bang Bang Con, the live, you know, where it was like a pay-per-view online concert, which was, you know, essentially a full BTS concert experience streamed from a studio to fans worldwide. And people were like wondering, like, would it work? Would it work? Would it work? And, obviously it drew hella fans. Like, duh, like we know that, but the rest of the industry was like, oh, will it work? Will it work? So I think in June of that year around Festa, they had Bang Bang Con the live, where they had the concert. It says here that the live, the concert drew an astonishing 756,000 concurrent viewers, paid viewers from 107 regions around the world. It says to visualize that, Big Hit noted that it was the equivalent of 15 shows out of 50. Oh my God. This is Big Hit noted that it was equivalent to 15 shows at a 50,000 seat stadium, all happening at once. Tickets were around $35, which was $26 for fan club members. And despite the relatively low price, the sheer scale meant the concert grossed close to $20 million in ticket sales. That made it the highest grossing virtual concert at the time, a record that foreshadowed an entire new revenue stream for the industry. Importantly, this was not a one-way broadcast. BTS made it interactive. The platform, developed with tech partner Kisway, allowed features like live chat, viewer-selected camera angles, and even synchronized ARMY bombs that fans could connect to flash along with the music, bringing it a bit of the concert atmosphere home. After the show, BTS official fan club saw a jump of 10,000 new members, proving that these events not only made money, but also grew community. And, if Bang Bang Con was the proof of concept, then obviously Map of the Soul 1 was that was the blockbuster sequel. I'm pretty sure most people listening know, but if there are new listeners who don't know about this, or maybe some of my normie friends, it's never too late to join the party. But, Map of the Soul 1 was even bigger than that. So BTS performed a 2-hour set each day. It was 2 different days. I mean, it was high production value. It was 4K, augmented reality effects, multiple stages. Basically, what would have been like the world tour, they did it in a weekend online. This is during the pandemic when nobody can go outside. And it says the result was almost 1 million paid viewers from 191 different countries, nearly 1 million tickets sold for a single concert event. This was unprecedented. For comparison, the biggest tours in the world when in person might reach 1 million attendees, but over dozens of dates. BTS did it in one go through the internet and went home when they were done. Do you understand what I'm saying to you right now? Do you understand what I'm saying to you right now? It says that a conservative analysis noted that the show likely generated at least $35 million, but since Big Hit didn't disclose the exact breakdown of ticket tiers, tickets range between $44 and $81 for 1 or 2 days of access. No matter how you slice it, this was jaw-dropping success, by far the biggest payday for any artist in 2020 outside of touring. It's telling that Map of the Soul 1 ranked number 1 over the year's virtual concert grosses above offerings from any other act. BTS had effectively discovered a new way to tour digitally. And like I said, after the concert, they went home and went to sleep in their own bed after grossing $44 million for one weekend, and performed all these songs with no fan. They had screens in there that had fans on the screen, which was really cool, and just sticking to the same philosophy of like keeping the fans and the content as the centerpiece, and this two-way relationship with the fans. It really, really shined when the rest of the world could not figure out how to make $1 in the music industry from touring. They figured it out. And, I saw a lot of people try new stuff online, the DJ, what's his name? Oh my gosh. Yeah, he had his DJ thing going, and Tory Lanez had Pandemic Radio, and so many people were trying so many different things. It was such a unique time in the industry. I saw Dua Lipa try something where she did like a concert thing, but nobody had it figured out to the level of BTS and the level of ARMY. Like with BTS and ARMY together, with the relationship that they've built, I think that the focus, if the Western industry is going to survive, the focus should be, built more on the principles there. Like, I mean, they could study it, but it has to be there has to be a level of like, it has to be authentic, because you don't even, I guess maybe from what I know, you don't even see other K-pop labels even mimicking the process properly, because from what I see, it just feels like they keep on trying to start at the peak. They're trying to copy BTS and ARMY's relationship at the height, and not going back to the beginning. And this continued. I mean, after Map of the Soul, the one, they had they put out English singles, which was Dynamite, Butter, and Permission to Dance. And then they followed that up once Outside opened up some with the Permission to Dance tour, and touring the B EP that they had. And just at a time when the music business was just hanging on by a thread, they were really, 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 really able to sustain themselves, and obviously, like, I'm saying sustain themselves as a business. Obviously, the pandemic affected them just like it affected everybody else. But I'm just speaking just as a business level, when everybody was stuck and no one could figure out how to make any money in the business. BTS made money without leaving. They made tour money without leaving Korea, which is just crazy, So it's just like, I just want to say this last part real clear for anybody in the music industry that might be listening, because I am going to pump these clips out a little bit more. You're so obsessed with superfans, and maybe you got to give people something to be a super fan of, instead of trying to like hack loyalty through merch bundles and these streaming campaigns and all this boring stuff. How about we bring back systems? Like, what happened to just even something simple as artist development, teaching artists how to perform, how to interview, how to, because all those things help them be more authentic, which helps them be more likable, which will help them bring in more fans. I see new artists get on stage, they have no stage presence. Their vocals are, they perform over a 2-track. Just the storytelling of building an artist is just, it's just not there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember growing up, like, man, we used to watch, MTV, MTV Diary, and we felt like we knew these artists. You know what I mean? You think but you have no idea. This is the diary of Britney Spears. You just watch like the behind the scenes, and I know that like maybe what artists on MTV Diary were giving us back then is the equivalent to what some artists give us on social media now. There's ways to modernize any idea. It's the same reason why you see all these film companies, you keep on remaking all the same movies or sequels of all these other movies, which I'm not complaining about, because I did just see that Gremlins 3 is coming out, and Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus are teaming up to do that. Gremlins is like one of my favorite movies. But anyways, that's besides the point. Like, it's just nowadays with artists, we barely hear them speak unless it's a press run, and that's just boring, or it's a tweet from the label. Like, if you want intimacy at scale, just stop chasing fans' wallets and start just closing the gap between artists and audience. Like, artists need to talk to people, like, frequently. They need to talk to their people frequently, because everybody has a camera phone now. Everybody is equally as important. And if you want to have a connection, you have to build and be part of community, and you can be the person in that community that is the talented one on stage and singing, but you got to have community. You got to connect to it, and you're going to be online anyway. So you might as well build and talk to people who really love you, who really support you, who really want to see you at your best. And that's how you would build a super fan, not just going after somebody's wallets based off of data, because you're watching everybody's data. You're watching with everything that they click. It's just gotten gross. We need to get back to more simple systems, because those are the things that have been proven at last. So I don't know, man. BTS didn't just win just because of the music. They built an entire emotionally connected universe, and the fans are part of it. You know what I'm saying? So if you want loyalty, bring back tangibility. Give people posters. Give people fan club kits. Why don't U.S. artists have photo cards? You want to move some units, like, give them a whole world to like step into and be involved in. Like, it just feels like too many Western artists are just floating singles down the stream and hoping for one of them to catch. Like, I hope the algorithm grabs onto this. There's no narrative, there's no presence, there's no ritual, and most importantly, just no system to support building one, man. And so if the industry really, really, really wants to rely on super fans and build careers that are worth having fucking super fans, like, build it, you know. Otherwise, you're just taxing on people's nostalgia while giving them nothing real to hold on to, you know. So that's my time. The sleepover is back. Stay close. I'm gonna get out of here. I need to get some breakfast. Feels good to be back. I hope that this visual component is real cool for the Patroni. Shouts out to the Patronis. We got a real busy week. Got a new episode with Kirsten dropping this week. And got an episode dropping with Game Boy next week, and more stuff from me dropping this week. And I'm doing more Sleepover. I'm back, and I'm feel good. And also too, if I get this out before we do it, we got like a little crafts event that I'm doing. I don't want to know if I should call it crafts, but it's like, you know, people always ask me, like, how do I stay organized and how do I do this, how to do that. So I'm going to teach you guys my method on how I get on track, and hopefully it can be something that you take into 2026 and use for yourself. And I hope that you find it beneficial, you know. So, yeah, I look forward to doing that. And I'll see you guys soon. I'm going to my mom's in a bit. All right, so for anybody that just catching up or tuning in at this point, I have brought back the Sleepover podcast, and we are adding a video component to it, I guess. I prefer to do this very ugly early in the morning. Or really late at night, but now I get dressed up for video. And like I said before, like, I feel like some of the things are like, if you checked in on season 1, you saw some of the things, and everything isn't necessarily for everybody. You know, some of the topics are, some things are BTS related, some things are not. There are some tie-ins. It's just really life, or, you know, just whatever is really going on in my mind, stuff that's happening in pop culture, stuff that's happening in entertainment and music business, and my thoughts and opinions on it. One of my favorite episodes from the first go around was the No More Dream episode, and the relation to Nas, and just me hearing the influence in that. And then also, I would have to say it's a tie between the Frequency episode and the story I told about how I used to paint the cans with my mom when I was a kid. You know, that was a real personal story, but it's just, you know, it's just a way that I can just kind of just express whatever's going on upstairs so I could stay right in the world. So this go around, I wanted to add a video element, but I also wanted to include all of you guys in these episodes, because you guys are so much smarter than me and so much smarter than a lot of people online. And so I feel like, you know, it started out like almost selfishly, like me doing these episodes, because it was kind of therapeutic, just me getting these thoughts out of my mind. But all the feedback and like the comments and stuff like that, especially on YouTube, like the comments would be like 14 inches long. And so that let me know that people were paying attention. And then I saw somebody in real life that wanted to, that told me that I need to bring it back. And so I wanted to bring it back. I think I got some real interesting topics this season for us to get to. But like I said, I want to include you guys in these conversations because you guys are smart. So the way that this will run, hopefully, is I'll get one out every week. Patronis will get it a week or so early, and that'll give you guys a couple days to watch it. And then I'll do a follow-up Q&A call-in like what we're doing now. And then I will include you guys in the actual episode. I'll include different parts in the episode. So I think that would be a cool way to do it. I might possibly, Twitch is cool for now. We'll see how it goes. But, you know, people can listen in, but to be able to call in, you have to be a member, you know. So we will get to some of these questions. The episode that we did this week was, I named it a couple different things, but it was like how BTS beat the Western music industry, and also the concept of superfans. I had a meeting the other day about working on some projects, which one of them was, you know, her. Not her, the singer her, even though I absolutely adore her. Low key got a crush on her. But uh, you know, her, like the one, the absolute one. So I'm gonna have opportunity to work on that album this go around because I missed the country one and I missed Renaissance, and so I'm gonna have some opportunities to pitch for that. But the meeting I had after that, when we were talking about projects, they were talking to me about K-pop and how much, do I like it and other things like that. And, I just kept it real with them. Like I told them that I don't really like K-pop that much. I like I like the technical side of K-pop more than I actually enjoy the music, and that I'm really like BTS. Like, and I don't like, I know K-pop is the genre, because we need genres for whatever reason, um, but at the same time, like their music to me has always been more like, the music that they're influenced by, which is the same music I'm influenced by for the most part. So, we started talking about the concept of super fans and wanting to have super fans and how the West can monetize. And they were talking about Taylor Swift and how, Miss B, how, they got the Beehive and all this other stuff like that. And I'm just like, man, you guys are just like everybody else. You guys are doing this shit backwards. Like you're trying to emulate the fan artist relationship at the height and not go into the foundation. And we have a lot of problems. So I talked about artist development and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, and so yeah, that's where we're at for those that didn't get a chance to listen yet or are not on Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, you should even go and just go make a free account. And I'm always giving out subs and stuff like that. And there's always a lot of content that is free. Like I think most of it is actually free. So you should be over there because it's the best community online in general. So yeah, that's where we at. So BB, what popped into your mind listening to the episode? I saw you had a lengthy comment, and yeah.
I mean, this is my topic. I can talk about this forever, but I won't tonight. So I'm gonna let other people have an opportunity. But my main questions are when we're talking about like Western artist development. I know that there are a lot of like Western artists that are now out talking about how it's just not a thing in the West anymore. Like labels are not concentrating on artist development. Do you think that's like the biggest problem why they're not connecting with their fans?
I think it's not the biggest problem, but it's not the biggest problem when it comes to fandom, but it is a huge problem for a multitude of reasons, right? So you're getting people streaming already changed the game as far as DIY. So now you get to a point where now you can make music and there's no barrier to entry, right? So that already lowers the quality overall. You're going to get some people who are going to be meant to be here, but you're going to get a lot of people who don't deserve to be here, right? And then from there, largely what's happened with artist development is it's been left in the hands of people like me. Like the labels treat producers almost like a farm system because they know that we're the ones that are actually sourcing talent. We're spending our own money. We're putting out records. We're in the studio. We're the ones that are on the ground doing it. Like that used to be paid for by the labels. So once producers started doing it and producers have their own production companies, then what happens is you take the artist to the label and then you can go try to get the artist signed at a different label. If you have a great artist or whatever case may be, what's happened to so many people is the labels will actually try to buy you out, like move you out the way. And, just imagine if like before debut, P Dog did a ton of work with BTS before debut, getting them ready. And then when it's time for them to like really catch their break, the label just pushes P Dog to the side and puts them in with all different producers. So that's a lot of what you're seeing with artists. They're not sticking with the people who they kind of came up with. I think that that's a big problem. I don't think there's any uniformity to the sound. If you look at quite a few of the artists that had made it like maybe like before streaming became like the biggest thing, but just leading up to streaming, if you look at the people who have been like stable artists, they all have producers. You look at Jay-Z, he had Kanye and Just Blaze and like his team of people. You look at Drake with 40 and Boy Wonder. You look at Kendrick with Soundwave and all the TDE guys. Like the artists who have sustainable careers, the Clips with, Pharrell and then, Kanye, but mostly with the Neptunes, how they started. There's just been like a uniformity to the sound, right? And so I think what has happened is, because artists are not being developed, they don't know all these things matter. They're getting thrown out onto the stages early. They don't have any media training because, but the crazy part is some of them do really well with that stuff because they grew up on the internet. Like I think Doechii is a great example of an artist that kind of like knows how to use the internet and knows how to connect with her fans because that's how she kind of like got here. So it's just like, it's a mixed bag of different things. That's why I don't think they know how to connect. But I just think that most Western artists, the way that just the celebrity side has worked, because that's what the US is good for, is for engineering celebrities, is I'm the celebrity, I'm up here, and you get a bunch of people that love you because we have a celebrity obsessed culture. And then you just love me for the things that I do, and I'll just keep doing those things. I think that they're just behind. Like, I think that the times have changed drastically. And I think that artists are still trying to be praised just for being talented and not, some of them, don't even have any personality, like, at all. Like, there's people that
That's what I said.
yeah, there's people that I've met that are just like, you don't even have any personality. And then also it's just like I don't know, man. Maybe even like an entitlement issue. Like, I think artists feel entitled, like the fans are supposed to show up and love you for doing the bare minimum. And I think when you have that, when it's very, very one-sided, I think that, they don't value what the fans actually mean to their successes, And so, yeah, it can get complicated that way.
My biggest, what I'm trying to understand is what they don't understand. And I think most of it stems from they haven't done the research to be like BTS. So they don't understand like how they got here, how ARMY was formulated, why we have the connection with them that we do. And I say this at work all the time. People like to start in the middle, and they don't want to and they want to work both ways, down and up, and it doesn't work that way. So because that's how they cheat the system. They want to shortchange you and get the result quicker, but it always ends up backfiring. I've been called a fangirl I don't know how many times, and by the Western industry, because they don't really take BTS fans seriously, even though obviously they want what ARMY is for their new artist. So I guess my question is, if you're looking at BTS, what do you think is like their number one? What's the blueprint that they coveted it, like they got it? It's
authenticity.
Indestructible. It's not transferable to any of these other people.
I think it's the authenticity. I think that also too, like another thing too, is just to go back to what you said, when people talk about studying it, people are very clueless about just all of it. Like somebody told me, when I told them that Map of the Soul broke the first week like sales, the pre-order record was broken. Yeah. Somebody said to me, well, he's like, yeah, but he's like, that makes sense. He was like, isn't it like a billion people over there?
Like what?
And so I was like, they're not Chinese. And also like they have a ton of American fans. You know what I'm saying? Like they have a ton of American, like, I'm like, so people are just already discounting it and coming up for the reasons as to why, they're successful. Oh, because of this. Oh, because K-pop is big. But it's like, you're not going back and understanding. Like, I think a big part of why K-pop works is definitely artist development. I wouldn't I wouldn't say racist. It's just really just uninformed. Like, just there's a lot of people that don't even want to take the time to try to know where something that is foreign is from. It's just being very just like uninformed, don't care, but still want the same results, and so, like I said, I think that the authenticity is what has worked very well for BTS when it comes to the fandom. And when I say authenticity, I mean like, I think a lot of Western artists have treated, their image like, everything's a highlight reel,
Right.
I think like, we're giving you all the highs, but we're not giving you any of the lows. But then even when we do give you the lows, it just doesn't feel authentic. I think that, I just don't want to be bothered with certain people's fans.
I know.
There's just a lot of there's a lot of artists.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
There's a lot of artists, and then there's just like just I don't know, man. Just like when people do share, it just always seems like,
Yeah.
It just feels very manufactured. Thank you, Melody. I'm not gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave this girl alone. I just, but like there's just certain things that just don't seem authentic. It's like I'm going through something, just be feeling fake, So I think what's really helped them is, the authenticity. I think that, they also.
Do you think the fans mirror the artist? Like, if the artist is boring, the fans are probably, I don't want to say like mediocre, but you know what I'm saying? Like, ARMY goes hard for BTS because they go hard for us.
I'm trying to think that like, I'm just trying to think of somebody that's like an artist that's boring that has a fan base that makes no. maybe there's a correlation there, but I feel like they get energy from you guys though. Like I feel like there's like they get a lot of energy, and they feel like, I feel like knowing just how the business works and just knowing some other things. I think if it wasn't for y'all, I feel like they would have quit a long time ago, or maybe like gone on to do separate things. But they know that they have this huge world and this huge community of people that are waiting for them, that got their backs, so I think that's great. Overall, I just think that it's just weird that like this whole concept, I don't know if you guys have seen any of the articles, but I will leave some links when the full episode comes out, but you can just look it up, how Western labels are talking about superfans, and it really sounds like they're just trying to mirror some things they see in K-pop, but it doesn't feel like they're trying to take the steps to create that kind of bond between artists. I got Steven calling back in, BB. Let me try to get him on and see if it works this time.
All right, cool.
All right. Hello.
Testing.
We have life. Can you hear me?
Hey.
What up? Did you do something differently?
No, I did the same thing.
Okay, maybe I restarted it, so maybe that'll help.
Sweet.
You sound really clear. Wow, this is perfect.
Do I need to move my mic away? Am I a little too loud?
No, I got control over the volume on my side.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, it is. Hey, April. I just want to say, I thought one of my favorite quotes from your podcast was, if you want super fans, you need to give them an artist worth being a super fan of.
Yeah. It can't just work one way. I feel like labels are just always trying to find the quickest, fastest, most guaranteed way to a buck. And I think that they fell down just the path of just trying to sign these influencer artists. And I know I'm like guilty of it because I did make a platinum record with an influencer, but it was totally an accident. And I was just really trying to impress my nephew because my nephew was a fan. And we did the independent, so there was no label involved. But a label did try to give him a 7-figure deal, and he turned it down. But it was just like ridiculous. So it's just, you know, you got to give people artists again. I think I mentioned in the episode I talked about MTV Diary. You know, just kind of just giving like that. It's not even really about like extra access, because I feel like with social media, like artists do give people a lot. But it just feels like the same old, and it just always feels like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. It doesn't feel like I'm part of something.
Not like a give and take.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I'm like you're part of something. I'm in this with you. And the artists that do that tend to do really well. So yeah.
And that was part of what I put in my comment earlier, is something you can see with BTS, especially, I mean, even going as far back as their first fan meeting, you can see the look in their eyes when they're looking at ARMY, and that's not fake.
Yeah.
And so when you get these people that are coming out and pretending to be like, oh, thanks for my fans, but they don't really mean it, like people can sense that.
Yeah, no, for sure. One thing that I didn't tap into in the episode is that I think a lot of it is also cultural. You know, I think that we have this extreme, you know, I feel like we're extremely entitled, you know, here. And, you know, it's like the equivalent, like what the label said. It's like, you know, I want, you know, the United States to be just like Japan, and we're going to start now. And it's just like, that is such a foundational thing that Japan has, especially since, you know, I'm not laughing at the situation, but never mind. I won't touch that. But since post 40s, you know, the way that they've rebuilt Japan, and just like the way that they carry themselves in the country, and just, you know, with respect, and, you know, not being like anti-war, and just all the different ways. It's like, if we tried to start something like that, that's what it reminds me of when labels are like, oh, we want super fans. It's like, bro, like your whole system, your whole setup, the issue is foundational. It's not something that can just be fixed by saying like, you know, have super fans. And I think like somebody who is new, that has like a lot of fans, that got a lot of money pumped into her. I mean, she's not new because she came from, you know, that route where you get a lot of fame from. But I think they've done a great job marketing wise with Sabrina Carpenter. I feel like, you know, her branding, she's always wearing blue. Like the way that they put that whole thing together, like they did a good traditional job. I think the problem is they're mad that the whole thing isn't copy and paste anymore like it used to be. Like they actually got to do some work, and they don't want to do the work.
Yeah. So if you were to pick like the one thing that they could change that you think would actually make a lasting shift in the industry, I guess, as far as fans go in the West, do you think artist development would probably be your recommendation? Or
I think it would be my main recommendation, like in like the whole package of it, you know, from knowing how to talk, and knowing how to interview, knowing how to perform. Like I feel like that's another part of the magic too. Like if I'm gonna be a fan of somebody, I don't want to be a fan of somebody that's standing on stage and they look like they're doing the same thing I can do. Like that's
BTS has kind of ruined all other concerts for me. Like
yeah, like it's like that's
perform.
That's part of the magic. Like you go to a Beyonce show, you go to a BTS show, you go to these shows, and it's like you go to Kendrick. Like even he's a rapper.
Yeah, I'd like to see
like a show,
either of them.
You know, like the Mr. Morale tour, the concert, it felt like a play, like a stage play. Like it was incredible, costumes and design. And I mean, for all this work, I know went off the rails, but Kanye's tours like were always great. You know, from set design, like you got to create some form of magic. You know, it's like, you know, and I guess all of this artist development can encompass all this, but artist development is so much deeper than just, you know, teaching someone how to make a song. You know, it's the whole package. But I do think that would be a good place to start. But I just think that foundationally, the way our record business is even structured, we're screwed. To be honest. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we need to bring back concept albums too. I miss albums with concepts.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, I'm glad I was able to get through.
Right.
I'll hop off and let somebody else take a turn. But
let's see if the luck continues. We got Steven trying to tap in right now. Let's go, Steven. Let's see.
Toodles.
All right, bye.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we got some action.
There he is.
What's up, bro?
There's my guy. What's happening with you?
Not much. Not much at all. I had 3 thoughts. I'm not looking at the chat, so I don't know if there's an echo. I can kind of hear one, but I'm not going to worry about it unless you tell me it's no good. But my first thought was you see a lot of people saying, oh, here's how you be successful, because here's how I was successful. And I think a lot of that discussion kind of hides that no success, every success is unique and can't necessarily be replicated the exact same way. And it's not entirely clear to me that even the people that are successful know precisely how they did it. So when I hear this conversation about we want to replicate BTS's success with fandom, I think right off the jump, it's a flawed proposition. And then the second thing I was thinking about was I was listening to this guy on YouTube, and he was talking about the several ad apocalypses. And he was saying, you can't just, like if YouTube's the only source of revenue, that could get cut out from under you. You have to diversify. You have to be prepared for when that day comes so that you're not caught off guard. So you got to put that work in and have different ways of getting revenue, different way of getting ads, that you're not just dependent on YouTube ads or whatever, which I thought is also kind of ties in. But the thing that really jumps out at me the most is this idea that you're going to replicate what took them 12 years to build. Like, when they started doing this, they had to, right? Because they couldn't get an in with the other industries were not letting them on the air, not let them on TV shows. They had to come up with different ways to get get access to their fans. And so, they tried different things, and some things worked and some things didn't. And now we're 12 years later, and they've built something. I mean, they put that work in. There's no sidestepping that work. And the idea that you're going to come along and build super fans without putting in that work is just kind of ludicrous to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. The way a lot of traditional record deals have also been structured has been 4 or 5 album deals, right? And the 5th album in the deal, a lot of times it's okay, greatest hits. So that kind of lets you also know the thinking of a shelf life of an artist for a label. And a lot of times the 5 albums is if you do really well, we know we'll get to 5 and we know we'll be able to monetize for this amount of time. Really, they're looking at it 2 to 3 albums. And that's if you better be selling some records, so they're not even thinking long game when it comes to artists, which is also puzzling, is how you feel like you're going to build, focus and build super fans when you're not even focused on longevity for an artist. You're putting them in debt from the jump. You're taking complete ownership of things like their name and their likeness. And then you expect them to be happy and want to turn in albums and want to work when you play games with the budgets and say, oh, you can't put anything out right now. The labels have full control over a lot of that for most artists. 95% artists, the label controls when they drop and all that kind of stuff like that, when they're going to release marketing dollars, and all of those things. So you're absolutely right. It really comes down to, wanting to do the work. That's why the whole thing is sounds so stupid when I'm hearing it. I just feel like I've been calling a lot of people dummies lately, and it's just more dummy behavior, because it's how do you feel like you're gonna build that foundation? It's like trying to build a house, and it's okay, let's start at the roof. It's gonna build the roof down. It's how?
it's just backwards. It's just backwards. I mean, and the other thing too is, at least with BTS, you know, the fact that they were struggling to break through and using these different mechanisms to reach their fans. I mean, the fans recognize that, and they're, you know, it was like, hey, you're disrespecting the group that I like, and you're not letting them go to these award shows. You're not putting them on the shows, and so it was a partnership of struggle. And like that's I don't know how you replicate that, but you certainly are not going to replicate it by being disingenuous and not being authentic. That's what you were saying earlier. Is like it has to be authentic,
right?
and people sense that.
And yeah, and like you said, like nobody's path is going to be the same, but the principles can be the same, right? And the path is going to end up being whatever the path ends up being. So what I mean by that is just if you are struggling and you're sharing like the journey with your fans, I mean, I feel like a lot of people that are here, like I'm not someone that shares, like overshares, but you know, I've shared with everybody that's here right now quite a bit. Like you guys know what I've been up against, and I feel like that is part of the reason why, you know, you guys support me and my efforts and what I'm doing. It's just a level of like, you know, not crying about it and sitting around and doing nothing. It's like, you know, you guys see me working, we seen BTS work through those struggles. And also you just keeping, it's so weird, man. And that phase of just like recently, like the last 4 or 5 years of seeing the labels make artists who are not like necessarily TikTok artists go forcibly make TikToks. It was very painful to watch some of my friends who are very talented kind of go through that. But yeah, it's just, you know, it is very dumb to think that you can build something that took someone foundationally, you know, 8-9 years to kind of reach the level that they reached. And you're just going to do that in what? I don't know the process. Like, what is it when they're talking about building superfans? It's like, do you have a blueprint for this? And what's your timeline?
Because we got a 5 record deal and I got to get this done quick.
Yeah, I was thinking we could get this done by spring. What do you think?
Crazy work. Well, thanks, bro.
I appreciate you tapping in for sure.
All right, check you later.
All right, peace. All right, D'Alice, tap in, D'Alice. Oh, we got Mags. Hold on, D'Alice. This could go either way. This could be very comedic or it could work.
Hello, is this Sleep D's?
He is I and I am him.
Is this Team Sleep?
Yes, we are tapped in.
Am I in this realm?
You are here. You sound very clear today.
Okay, good. Because my ass is at home and not at the TJ.
No more
Maxx.
TJ Maxx, huh?
Yep. The episode was awesome. I was nodding the entire time. Just, you know, nodding, my head, glass is about to fall off because everything that you were saying was very, very true on all fronts. I want to add on to what Steven just said about the superfans thing, because the term superfan to me and what BTS and ARMY is we're just, I don't even know if that's the right term for us, because when you think about how BTS started and how they're so from the ground up, and it was the same way with ARMY. It was like they were just holding hands the whole time. So when people try to say, or, you know, when you went in that meeting and they're saying, how do we replicate that, or what was the formula to that? It's hard to describe. How can you put a formula to something that's just so organic? It's like building something from the ground up together. So I just feel really proud to be a part of that kind of community. And it all comes back to community for me. And that's one of the reasons why I really appreciate the community that you're building here, because I have a very similar sense. It feels very much like family here. So just to add to what Stephen had said, I just feel like that's just it can't be replicated. I don't know if there's another group that can do it in their own way, but it's just BTS and ARMY are so unique.
You something you said made a really good point just now when you said ARMY came up together too, like hand in hand, and that makes a lot of sense because basically what you're describing is community. I feel like there's a word, I don't know what it is at this exact moment, I gotta think about it, but there is a word that like almost mimics community, but it's not quite community. What would it be? Like a colony? Like I feel like a lot of fan bases. No, seriously, I feel like a lot of fan bases might mimic a colony, or it might mimic something else, but not a community. It feels like, I almost had an analogy. It almost popped into my mind. It feels like people who like work somewhere, but they don't live where they work. That makes sense? So it's like someone who doesn't like spend, like they don't spend the money that they make in the same area that they like, that they frequent. And that's the difference of what one day I'll be able to explain it exactly how I mean it. But that's the difference of what it feels like when I look at some fan bases. It feels like everybody's just kind of separate. We're all here, but we're separate. But with like ARMY, it definitely feels like, and with you guys, it feels like everybody is like together. You know, like I see the stuff that you guys do for each other, you know, that doesn't even involve me, even if you guys met through this community. And that's like that's what it's all about. And I think a lot of other places don't have that. And I think that, you know, the community side of it, like the feeling that everybody here is like all here together and in it together that is like the biggest differentiating factor. But the thing is, like, there's no way you just create that in a non-organic way. It's impossible. You can't manufacture that.
You really can't. It's just it happens naturally, and it's just like every single year it just gets stronger and stronger. It's like they're not losing. I don't know how to describe it. Some groups will lose fire, and it's just they just keep getting better and better, and we just keep getting stronger together.
Yeah, I think that, well, so to circle it back to artists, I think that a lot of artists, so what happens with a lot of artists is especially people who can sing, you know, singing is a gift that is identified very early. And you start to get a ton of praise for it at a very early age. And you grow up being told that you're so good and 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 you're so good. And it reminds me of what sports was for me. It was like I was always so good at this. I was always so good at that. I was always so good at that until my first, like, you know, playing with other like college athletes. And I was like, oh shit, everybody here is good. And and it's kind of, it can be like shell shocking, you know. And I think artists get told that, and then they have this entitlement issue where it's like, oh, everybody's supposed to praise me, everybody's supposed to praise me, but the world is a very different place now. Like, I mean, everybody has a cell phone, right? And with the cell phone comes your own ability to create media, user-generated content. Since 2006, YouTube came out, and now you have people. See the sirens in my window? This is real life over here in the trenches.
Oh yeah.
But like regular people just can go online and say, I've decided to take a social media break to get my mental health right. Da 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 da. In the 90s, that was a press release. You know, like, like that was a press release. So everybody has like a sense of like, I feel like everybody in this day and age, because of social media, has like a sense of, even if it's very small, a small sense of what it's like to be a celebrity in some regards. And because of that, I think the viewpoint of celebrity is much different nowadays, and you have a lot of artists who are very entitled, but they don't know how to build a community, let alone be a part of a community. Like, I think that they look at it like they're supposed to be at the forefront at any and all times, but they don't understand that if you bring people together and give people access, you can still be this talented singer, dancer, rapper, entertainer amongst the community, amongst this little world that you create, you know? Like, people's attention spans and minds are more fragmented than they have ever been in life. So it's like the odds of having like everybody at your calling whenever it is you release music or whatever the case may be is very, very, very slim to unlikely. But you can create a world where people appreciate you and you can appreciate them and you can be a part of it.
Totally.
You brought up a good point. I definitely think that is a big part of why it's worked, and a big part of why this whole super fan concept is, like I keep saying, stupid. Like, I think I'm calling everybody dumb in 2026.
Oh man. Cue the My Buddy commercial roll, because that's what I think of every time you say that.
I gotta load
That's
up
showing my age, but it is what it is.
I gotta load up my. I don't know if that played or not. I gotta load up my sound effects. I don't got a lot in here. These are the stock ones. But
oh my. Well, thank you so much for your time. Can I make one quick recommendation?
Yeah, for sure.
To anybody? Okay, so after I watched /listened, I went back to this series of stories by Lenica Cruz. So if anybody's never seen it or read it, it's called On BTS, Pop Music, Fandom, and Sincerity. Yeah, and she put together all her stories from the Atlantic, and it's just an amazing read. It's so fast, and it just totally reminded me of everything that you said in that pod. So thank you, Sleep.
All right, for sure. I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Peace.
Take care.
Duff, what up?
Hey, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Thanksgiving pre-gaming. I'm coming down from it now. But I'm all right. But this is a really good topic. Like, I was thinking, like, labels are trying to, like you said, this super fan, and how they're trying to copy BTS and like modern artists, trying to capture like modern artists to do that. I think they forget like Bad Baby has come out, within the past decade, like less than that really, because I think he like really started to pop off after being on Cardi's first album. But I mean, I know people who flew up here, like I'm in New Hampshire right now, flew down to PR to go see him at his engagement that he had down there, his residency that he had down there. So, I mean, it's possible, but I think a big part that's missing from the component of like really cultivating, fandom is the media component is missing. I think Clips's, rollout of Let God Sort 'Em Out, like really showed that like that whole is missing. That old school approach to development and how key the media is to it. And not even just like big media, but like the small niche community of, like the blog era. You don't get a Drake, you don't get a J. Cole, you don't get a Wale, even like past artists, you don't get, Asher Roth, without having these niche communities. We've moved so much from a, particular cultures, niche cultures, to being a monoculture now that you can't really create. It's hard, so much harder to create like true fandoms and like true like superstars now because of that. I'm not even talking about the loss of AR and artist development, which kind of cuts to the media part. So, like, what's your take on that?
Nah, you brought up some really good points. It's funny you said blog era. I talk about the blog era like so much. Like I'm actually thinking about doing a documentary on it at some point.
Easy, man.
Yeah, because I and also too, just like to get your music out. Once again, this is pre-streaming, right? So to be able to even get your music out on these major blogs and major mixtapes, you had to, obviously there's always going to be some form of payola happening, but there was a lot of good blogs where that wasn't, necessarily the case. And to get on like the AC3 show and all these different things, you had to know how to perform, you had to know how to rap, you had to know how to do all of these different things. And also circling back to what you said about the clips rollout and media being a component, that's another good point. Like, because, we're in this era, user-generated content, or people who have not been anywhere near a journalism class, everybody tries to control or try to create narratives. People tweet like that. Everybody wants to have a take, and it's like, just look at the top hip hop journalists right now. I mean, DJ Academic, he's not even a DJ, and he's awful. You know what I mean? And
staying on Jamaican.
Hey, he's just also just not a kid of the culture, and so it's those different things like that happen, they definitely matter. And like you said, the clips rollout was a masterclass in how to utilize media. They sat with someone who does art review. They sat with pretty much everybody, but they also, once again, we keep on circling back. The word that keeps popping up about everything that we talk about that works is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we just keep landing on, and that's also the common thread. You said Bad Bunny, that his fans feel connected to him enough to where he can say, look, I don't need to tour in the U.S. I'll do a residency in the coastal U.S. I'll do a residency in Puerto Rico, and people will come see me. I don't need to go tour there while this administration is in office. I'll stay here. And look how that worked out for him. Now he's about to do the Super Bowl. It's almost like the lack of accessibility to him made him even bigger than he already was,
Controversy sells, even if you're not even the one who's creating the controversy.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to being authentic, having some principles to stand on. Everybody that you just named in that whole that it's worked for, it just seems like authenticity has been the key, and that can show up in so many different ways. Like Steven said when he called, it's not going to be, rinse and repeat for every single person. But I do think that there are principles and guidelines that you can build on when you are trying to become an artist. And the other thing too about like what you said is about, you said major, superstars or whatever. But I think that these principles need to be repeated from top to bottom, because there's always been superstars, and there's always been people who are underrated. There's always been people who are, more like independent, that have done well. And I think that these principles top to bottom matter, because at the end of the day, I think that, the world got smaller because of the internet, but it also got a little bit fragmented, in a sense. And I think that building community, being part of community, sharing something, expertise, your story, I think those things matter, and I think that they will matter to a lot of people. This lead to, my next episode, I could go much further on this, but that's literally the next episode, where there's something I'm going to talk about that has to do with hip hop, and I think you're going to enjoy that one a lot.
I bet. All right, I'm going to get back to this one.
For sure. Thanks for tapping in. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too, man.
All right. Check.
Hello.
Hey, you made it.
I made it. Hi, everybody. Dialis.
We got
long-time listener.
Building. Online.
Long-time listener. First-time caller.
Second-time caller.
Second-time caller, I guess. I'm hearing echo, but I've got you muted. Is everything going on okay over there?
Yeah, I'll mute my mic while you're talking, because maybe it's because I'm close to the mic and the headphones.
Oh, okay. Okay, hi everybody. Sleep, you're amazing. Just start that off. And I have two questions for you. I think it really helps my first question bring up points and go further with the authenticity running theme through everything. So talking about artist development, when you were saying that in the podcast, I started to think maybe I have a different understanding of artist development, but it made me think of like talking about creating stars. And it made me think of Pink, the artist Pink. And when she came out, she was, this hip hop, kind of put out into the world as this type of thing. She was great. She was awesome, but she wasn't really getting her music out or her voice out. And when she was able to break away, she did. And she became even more popular. People really started to connect with her when she was able to be her own. And so when I think of stars being created and going through artist development being, I'm sure there's probably an element of like media training and, how to present yourself, things like that. I'm not sure, but it's almost like if we think about the K-pop aspect of the process, it's like BTS was in the formula of being, in that process, but they were able to do it with authenticity. It's almost like the balance of the two. And if we could get that in more music, I think that would maybe create more interest in other artists. But why do you think that Western industry shies away from letting people be themselves to begin with? Like, why isn't there more backing? Because with everything that's done organically, I think of you, I think of my favorite comedian, Josh Johnson. Your rise to success has been built on that foundation because it's been real. And so, like, why doesn't Josh Johnson have a Netflix special? Why isn't Sleep D's on the next BTS album? Why do you think there isn't that push to allow the authenticity to, why don't they think authenticity is marketable?
Wow, that's a lot to unpack there. It's a good question.
Sorry. I have notes everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's all good. No, I'm tapped in. Like I'm just, so the way I'll answer that is this. Usually when you are being authentic, like, say in my case, or Josh Johnson, I think that, I think both of us are a little bit older also when things started to really happen. And I think that when you're a little bit older, you can be a little bit slow. You don't feel like you have to grasp at the first opportunity to like feel like very elevated. A lot of the things I've ever wanted, I've had or have. And I'm not a person that needs a lot. So money is never a motivating factor for me when it comes to like my own personal gain, right? So when you have like some of the comparisons you made too, when you're talking about authenticity and like being promoted, like you got to realize like people also hit different. People are in this business at different stages of their life. Some people enter as a teen. Some people enter at 23. Some people enter at 30. Some people, I think Sam Jackson got his first acting role in his 40s or something like that. So you can enter these different places at different times, and I think that also plays into the authentic nature of it. Just backtracking to Pink, I've heard conflicting stories. I've heard that most of her demos that were done at that time were all R&B, so she was presented to the label as an R&B artist, and so there was a lot of confusion by people when she said she wanted to do something else. I don't know how true that is or not. I think I was maybe in junior high during that time, but
yeah, that's what I remember from the situation, just being a fan of music, and because we didn't have the access to information as we do now, where we can find the stuff about, what really happened. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, totally different time. I would say one good thing about that you mentioned too about BTS and them being able to be authentic while getting the artist development and the training is the label. Like the one reason like why I think that they were able to just kind of like survive like the ebb and flow of like the financial side and do all that stuff is because those guys are like I'm not even talking about the group, I'm talking about like Bang and like MP, like those guys are hip hop heads. Like my very first conversation with Bang was completely, we're talking about like all kind of like 90s hip hop like acts and stuff. We're talking about hip hop, and like P Dog is a big West Coast hip hop fan. Like he loves a lot of West Coast rap. And so because of that, you got to realize too, like Jay-Z wasn't able to get a deal, right? And he had to start Rockefeller out of necessity. He started his record label because nobody would sign him, and he was like, well, I already got money out the street, so I want to put out my own music. So he was able to keep a level of authenticity. So I think a lot of like big hits success stories because they just started moving in the way that, you know, independent labels move here in the States. They were like, well, we'll figure it out how we have to figure it out. And because of that, you know, the production had always had like some elements of hip hop in it. But they were able to just really like be authentic because they had real rappers in the group. Like, you know, that the rappers in BTS are, they don't just rap, they're like hip hop kids, right? Especially RM and Sugar. So, and then J-Hope from the background of being a dancer, like he's dancing to break beats, you know, so they had hip hop coursing through them. So I think a lot of that spirit and like the wanting to be authentic, because hip hop is, you know, to me, it's the most, like, as far as popular art forms, it's the most authentic genre that it is, because I feel like a pop star is based off of, you know, your marketability and what the machine can do with you. I think a singer, a vocalist, you know, your ability is based off of like your voice. And I think for hip hop, I think it's always been based off of your lyrics and like how you can write. I'm talking about hip hop, not rap, but hip hop. It's been based off of
hip hop is truth. Hip hop is truth.
And so, you know, you take all those things and you put all those things together, and they were able to do it. I think another thing too, you know, why they were able to last as well is that they also genuinely like each other. You know, I've told the story before about the girl group from the UK I was working with that they got into a fist fight in the studio. I've been around a lot of groups. I started with Black Eyed Peas. I have no comments about anything that happened with them or anything like that. Like, I didn't see anything bad. But I've been around groups and, you know, and people will work together and really not like each other. Like, and so I think that them all genuinely liking each other has helped, because there hasn't been like, you know, jealousy amongst what anybody else's popularity in the group. They all kind of champion it. They all actually even like will make fun of each other for it to a degree. So I think a lot of that all plays into them being able to be them authentic selves. They don't feel bad about not having to be macho or crying or like, you know, they're wearing makeup, like, and they can just be themselves without having to like play into like these images of what, you know, men are technically like supposed to be based off society, right? So I think all those things help play into them being able to be authentic and connect, because people see that and it's real. I saw something, but I never verified if it was true, but it was something about frequencies, and it was saying like love, sadness, all these different things. They said the thing that vibrated higher on the frequency chart than anything else was authenticity. Now, don't go quote me on that, because I didn't verify it, and it was in the meme, and the meme looked nice, and you know they could have lied to me. It could have been somebody just making it up. But yeah, that was what, you know, that is what I saw, and that's what I also believe it to a degree, because I just feel like when people, like, everybody kind of knows when they're being played with.
Yeah,
right?
You know
what I'm saying? So I think that, I'm not going to touch that.
But you know, I mean,
but no, I had something else I was going to add to
vibes.
that. But so I'll just say this. With all the content that I've done, every single one of you guys that I've ever met in person, I have never had anybody say anything bad about interacting with me in person. And I think that is like probably like my biggest flex. Like my mom told me something recently where she said that like she loves that. Like she was like, you changed and you've grown up and you know, you make all your decisions and you've just done really well. But she was like, you just still so much remind me of how you were when you were a little kid, when you were a little boy. And to me, that just made me feel really good because it feels like, you know, the principles at my core hasn't changed. And I think that that is what people feel with the artists that are able to like build connection. I'm not putting myself nowhere near anybody else's level, Beyonce, BTS, none of that, but just being authentic and being myself, being comfortable being myself, you know, and I think that that is a part of it. And I think a lot of artists, I don't know what it is. I really don't know what the answer is. I just know the answer isn't super fans. Like, it's not happening in a year for any new artist. Not in this day and age, especially.
Not in this day and age. I don't know if the industry will see that because they'll keep asking for that formula because they're looking to make something inauthentic.
Yep.
And when you're trying to look that form, you're trying to start building the house from the roof down, you're not going to get anything that is going to last. And that's going to be able to support what you need. So thank you. Second question.
Mm-hmm. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I wouldn't, somebody in the comments, who's that? MC Andy? I would not say that there's nothing authentic about Beyonce. I gotta defend my people. Like that's like I can see the perception because you think that everything that is put out is polished, and that is like I feel like she's one of the last mega stars that can just completely be behind the veil. But when I'm talking about her authenticity, I'm talking about on a human level. And if you know a lot of what she's done and the things that she does and her efforts, especially back in Houston and to help people, like she's the real deal. All right, go ahead. Question 2.
I would have to agree. Authenticity looks different in different ways. So my question is,
and she's constantly speaking up for for Black people, you know, that's nothing. All right, go ahead.
So what's the buzz in the industry? Are they scared of comeback? Because we have been talking about how this is going to be I don't even know, but are people shaken? Because they should be.
I think
or what do you think also about comeback?
I don't really think that what they do affects the Western industry in that way. Because once again, like people keep on looking at them like they're an enigma in a sense of like, oh, this is happening because of that, and not realizing that it's happening because they're actually really good at making music. You know, it's almost like they look at it like it's like this phenomenon like that. Oh yeah, it's happening, like, you know, like boy band treatment basically. And they like them though, you know, you know, on a surface level, they always like them. They always say good things about them. It's never like a hate. You know, from what I hear people say in the industry, it just feels like a phenomenon to them because for one, they don't want to do translations. They're not going to look into the lyrics. They're not going to look into anything. They're going to see it. But also too, you know, when they did English records, you know, they didn't get a chance to do any English records, in my opinion, that mimics who they actually are.
Word.
You know, and that was, you know, and I get it, you know, in the pandemic and blah, 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 blah. But I felt like if they were going to do, but that's America though, right? If you're a marginalized person, it's smile, be cute, dance, entertain me, but don't talk about your pain. I don't want to hear about it, you know? And, you know, they had to run the number ones, right? And then put out Life Goes On, and it was number one for a week, but then it did stop getting radio support, right?
I remember that.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, you guys put out a song now, and you've already had songs go number one. You know, anybody else would have been able to, you know, especially if I don't know if they were still with Columbia on the Beat album. Were they? Were they still with Ron? I'm not sure. But whatever the case may be, it was surprising to me that Life Goes On didn't have a more of a pump and a push at radio. And I say that because as a producer and as a songwriter, all the elements were there for that to be a sustainable record, because that's a very, very, very sing-song, sing-along chorus, even if you don't know Korean. Because the ending phrase is life goes on, you know, and the melody on everything before that is catchy as hell. So that was a record that could have sustained at number one. To me, it felt like there was no pump, no push. I felt like that number one was completely ARMY that got that record at radio. And it's, you know, it's because it's a song where they're talking about something, their feelings and their emotion. You know, it's not a song where it's just like butter, where it's like dress up, dance, be cute, entertain us.
Yeah, it's that escape. Like, we know that we use entertainment to escape, but we can't completely escape from it. We have to have the balance. We have to acknowledge that these are our emotions, and let's do something with that by sharing with people, connecting with people, making music, having fun, being joyful together. So,
I mean, that's
awesome.
But that's also why if you're not going to invest as a label, if you're not going to invest in music that is more than just party and good time in an artist, then how can you expect like artists to want to make more of those songs, for one? Because, you know, a big problem is, you know, creativity and commercialization. To me, they were never necessarily meant to go hand in hand. Like when you look at Basquiat, and you look at all these different painters, that a lot of artists die broke, you know, because the commodity wasn't in creating like the thing. It was in like, damn, what am I trying to say? It was just like, you know, you create because you are a creator. And then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But a lot of these things end up taking off like afterwards. But music is such an art form, but it is something that is just so like, it's such a commodity. It's so commercialized. It's like, no matter what I make, I can make the best song I ever feel like I ever made tonight, and Spotify is going to tell me it's worth 0.0000003 cents every stream. I get no say in that if I play on their platform, if I play in their field. And so like a lot of artists, the incentive is to make the song that's going to be on the radio, because that's how you're going to make the money. But is that how you're going to create your legacy, you know? And I think that's why impact is more important than just strictly numbers. And this is also, we're dipping into my next episode.
We should stop talking then right there.
So you know, my next episode,
so
but we're going to get deep into like why creativity and commercialization were never meant to be together, and like why just a lot of that, like it's going to be really good, I promise. But I definitely think that if more labels were invested in the music that's the most authentic to certain artists, I think that they would be able to connect to more people on a larger scale. I think when everybody's making something that sounds like something else, that sound like something else, that sound like this, that sound like that, and everybody's using the same loops from Splice, and it's just like, and now AI, you know, who knows what this is going to be like, you know? So, but I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sleep. And I will say this, you know how you talked about when people meet you, everybody had, oh my God, I'm going to start crying. There we go. You know how people, you said that people, when they meet you, they always have the same, like nobody ever has anything bad to say. That's the same as BTS. Every time they meet someone, they say the same thing. They're like, those guys are great. Those guys are authentic. Those guys are amazing. So the fact that people say that about you, I want you to recognize that and how special that is. So,
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Next time I see him, I'm gonna do the Spider-Man meme, and I'm gonna tell him you said that.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Sleep. Thank you, everybody, for listening as well.
Good talking to you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Porsha, you made it. Porsha, you made it.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Oh, great. Hi, Sleep, and hi, family. I know it's so late, and everyone has said so many wonderful things. I just want to share two quick things, and then I'm going to hang up.
Okay.
The first thing I wanted to share is a quote that I believe was attributed to Toni Morrison. And it says something like, your willingness to learn and grow is directly linked to your capacity to be vulnerable. And, you know, we've been talking about authenticity all night, but that really does make me think about the guys. They have showed so much of themselves, their true selves, and I think they've learned and evolved as a result of that. And then the second thing I just want to say quickly, someone has said this a lot, that the industry wants a fandom like ARMY just as much as they want to find the next BTS. But both of those things can't be, created in a lab. They can't be replicated just because you want to have that. And, you talked a lot tonight about what's really going on in the industry and this whole notion of superfans. And we've all talked about what being a part of this fandom has done for us. I'm not sure that I will ever see anything like this again. And I'm an old lady. I've seen a lot of fandoms, but I've never seen anything like ARMY. So I just wanted to share those two quick things with everybody. And thank you, Sleep, for this space. And we'll see you on the next one.
I appreciate you chiming in for sure. You got a lot of good things to say. Oh, she meant it. She left quick. Thanks for tapping in, Porsha. Yeah, so I think we got through all the callers, but everybody, appreciate you calling in. You had a lot of good things to say. A lot of good points were made. A lot of things for me to think about. And I really do like that Toni Morrison quote. I've actually seen it before, that it was attributed to her, and I do believe that too. And I think that, it's interesting. Like we were talking earlier, and I feel like there are people that kind of do this, I don't know what to call it, and I don't want to end this on a negative note, so I'm just going to touch on it just really quick, but it feels like a forced or fake vulnerability, or it's almost like a woe is me, like whining kind of thing. And one thing I've always respected about, I say BTS, so I'll say like somebody like RM, like he'll get on live and he'll just kind of say exactly what it is he's kind of like going through, and it's like, I appreciate, especially post, release. I really appreciate his last, I don't know if it was his last live, but the parts of the one that I saw, and I saw it really late, but where he was just saying like how he loves being able to just like get on and knowing that he has somebody that he can, that he can talk to. And so I related to that greatly, because there's been times where, like, I know BB will yell at me and be like, oh, let me know when you're going to go live. But I told her, like, sometimes I don't even know that I'm going to go live. Sometimes I'll just be sitting here. I might have a lot on my mind. The camera might be on and I might just push the button. And the thing about it is cool, because it just feels like, it just feels like dope that I know that there's a group of people that are going to pop in and want to know what I have to say and want to speak back and, different things like that. Even this, like, just dropping Like that thing that I put out yesterday, I filmed it yesterday, just went ahead and put it out. And now a day later, you know, we're having a whole 2-hour conversation about it. And so it's just really cool to just see people that are vulnerable in a way where, you know, not acting like they got it all figured out, not acting like they have everything just together, you know. And I think that is like a way that, I think that that's a great way to connect to people too, and not pretending like, oh, I've been to therapy, I'm just completely healed, or, you know, like just whatever the case may be. Just letting people know, I'm constantly letting people know I'm a work in progress. I'm still going through it. There's still people that I want to just thump in the forehead, but you know, I'm just trying to get better every day. I'm trying to get better every day. Definitely a work in progress, but you know, it feels good knowing that there's a community of people that support what I'm doing, and it also just feels really good to support you guys the same way you guys support me, you know. I know I suck at, like, you know, receiving compliments at times, but when you guys tell me the stories about what this community does for you, I really love hearing that. Like I'm better at hearing that than I am hearing you guys say good stuff about me. So I'm working on it, getting better at it, but it's just like it's really dope to have a community of people. And I think that if more artists from the biggest, highest scale that you can reach musically, career-wise, like BTS, if they can do it, and someone that's just an independent music producer, songwriter, creator like myself, if I can have that same approach, I just don't think that there's no excuses anywhere in between. It's like either you have the authenticity in you and you have the I think compassion too, or, you know, have compassion and empathy. I think that you can do this and you can reach people. And if you don't have that, if you're entitled or arrogant or just kind of just self-centered, self-absorbed, I think that you're going to struggle with your artistry. You're going to struggle getting your art out, because in a world where we're moving in a direction where everything is becoming more and more fake, more and more AI, people are going to crave authenticity even more. Like when everything goes one way, people will miss the other thing. And so I think that the more you can't tell what's real, the more you can't understand what's real, I think the more that authenticity is going to matter and mean a lot to people. So happy Turkey Day to everybody. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I will see you guys real soon. Episode with Kirsten coming out Friday morning, Saturday morning, Friday. Y'all want to see it Friday, Black Friday? Y'all want to see it Saturday morning? Which day should I do the premiere? Boom. Friday morning, the episode with Kirsten will premiere, and I will be in the chat. I should get Kirsten in the chat. I don't know if she's in Canada. Canadians don't do Thanksgiving. I don't know, but maybe she went home. All right, Friday it is. I'll put out the artwork in a little bit and start the upload. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I am super thankful for all of you guys, all the conversations, all the love. I'm super thankful for my book. It's very emotional. I was reading the letters. Yeah, you guys got me. You guys got me again. But I really appreciate all the kind words, and I'm glad I have that to look upon anytime I feel the need to look upon. But love y'all. Have a good time with your family. If you're traveling, I saw some storms. You know, be careful. And yeah, maybe I'll tap in from Mama Sleep's house tomorrow, some sweet potato pie. But I'll talk to y'all in a minute.
See a real one. Time for you to feel alive. I'm just trying to make you feel something.